Good morning. Welcome to First Church Unitarian here in Littleton, Massachusetts. My name is Lara, Hoke, pronouns she, her, and I'm so happy and lucky to be the minister serving this incredible congregation. If you are here with us this morning for the first time, we're very happy to see you, and we are better for your presence with us. We truly hope that we get to know you, the real you, over time. But whether it's your first Sunday with us or you've been coming here for decades or somewhere in between, it's always wonderful to have you with us on a Sunday morning. This is today a strange Sunday in the sense that the Patriots are playing right now. So I appreciate you being here regardless of that. I am not going to check the score myself, but I won't tell you not to. If you need some pastoral care today, you can, of course, always reach out to me. You could also reach out to today's pastoral minister, Ann Donald, who is with us on Zoom, or any one of our other lay pastoral ministers, David Butts, Jan Dustin, Linda Kaler, and Patty Sardella. And with that, I will turn it over to Rich for Community Matters.
That dang cane bugs me. Okay. Repeat after me. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. My name is Rich Lombardy. This was a bad idea. My pronouns are he and him, and it is so nice to see all of you today. Main things that people like me to say while I'm up here is look at your community matters. There's a lot of fun things in here. A couple of things I want to highlight. So one of the things that happens when you're the welcomer is if you don't hide, people just swarm you with things that they want you to talk about. Very important, we need help with RE. I've helped with RE. It's a wonderful experience. The youth here they're a lot of fun. So I highly recommend talking to Thea and signing up to help out with religious education. Another very important thing, coming up on November 10th, there's what do we call it? It's a membership. It's to help you learn, if you're a new member, to help you learn more about Unitarian Universalism. I don't even know what we call it. New attendee orientation. And there will be childcare, which is also very important because if you've got youth, we've got a great RE program, and we'd love to have you and your children here. On the 26th, which if I do math correctly is only 6 days from now, there's going to be a Halloween party, but there will not be any Friday fellowship and fun the evening before that. This is kind of in the place of Friday fellowship and fun. And one last thing, on the 10th, we're all going to the FCU Folk Festival, which will be here. And that's all that I'm going to tell you about. I'm going to tell you one. Did I say the 10th? Well, that's because I was confused with the new attendee orientation, which is the 10th, and the 9th is the Folk Festival, and then there's something else going on, Mike, on the 10th. Oh, I don't know. Yes, you do. I'll talk to you about it later. Last thing, if you have one of these, you have two options. You can throw it out a window, or you can put it into silent mode. And that's all I'm going to say. Welcome to church.
Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe. You are a child of the universe no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Whatever your labors and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. The words of Max Ehrmann. Let us worship. I'd like to invite Tucker to come up and light our chalice. And as Tucker lights our chalice, please join me in saying the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant. Dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Thank you. Our opening hymn is number 38 in the gray hymnal, Morning Has Broken, and the words will also be on the screens. I invite you to rise in body or spirit. Be seated.
Good morning. Okay, let's see if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay. A little closer. There. This morning's story is called Luigi, the spider who wanted to be a kitten. Pretty crazy, right? A big hairy spider went looking for a home. He came upon an old house, one that was sure to have some nice dark corners to hide in. Inside, he found an old sofa with a perfect dark space underneath. He dressed it up with a few quick strands of spider silk and went to sleep.
Spiders.
The next morning, he woke up as a hand brushed against him. "What's this?" said a voice. "It feels like a kitten. I've always wanted a kitten." Gently, he was lifted out into the bright, streaming sunlight. The hand and the voice belonged to a lady. She held the spider up and looked closely at him. "Why, hello," she said, "and welcome to my house. You're a very unusual-looking kitten." I will call you Luigi. The spider was very confused. He was pretty sure his name was not Luigi, and he was very sure he was not a kitten. Are you hungry, Luigi? The lady asked. Let's get you some breakfast. And she carried him into the kitchen. I'm not sure what you might like to eat, so we'll just experiment, said the lady. She spooned several different things into a pretty bowl. No one had ever given the spider breakfast before. He took a tiny taste just to see. Not bad, he thought. Nothing like a nice juicy fly, though. After breakfast, the lady rummaged around in the back of a closet. Then she called, Here, Luigi, let's see if you like to play. The lady was dangling some kind of cloth bug on a string. This must be playing, thought the spider. The bug was brightly colored and floppy wings and legs. He wanted to try and catch it, and they played for the rest of the morning. Finally, the spider crawled back into his dark space. That was enough excitement for one day. He decided, maybe kittens were used to all that activity, but not spiders. The next morning, he crept carefully out into the light. There was no sign of the lady. Good, he thought, nice and quiet. He began to make a little web in the farthest corner of the ceiling, but he kept wondering where the lady might be. Perhaps he would wander around the house just a bit, just to see. He found her in the kitchen. She seemed happy to see him. Good morning, Luigi. Would you like to play some more today? The spider realized he did want to play. He also wanted some more of that breakfast. Maybe he could pretend to be a kitten, just for a little while. Later, the spider crawled on the ceiling and worked on his web, but not until the lady went out. She might not understand. He was pretty sure kittens did not make webs, and they probably didn't crawl on ceilings either. When the lady came back that evening, they curled up on the sofa together to watch a movie. Eventually, the lady announced it was time for bed. The spider, who was beginning to think his name was the name Luigi rather suited him, thought about going back under the sofa. It was nice and dark there and quiet, maybe too quiet. The lady noticed him hesitating. You don't have to sleep under there if you don't want to, she said. Would you rather stay with me? She placed a fuzzy blanket inside a box and made a tiny bed for him. It looked very cozy. Maybe he would try it, just to see. The lady carried the box upstairs and placed it near her bed. Then she tucked him in and turned out the light. Good night, Luigi, she said. The spider lay awake, thinking. No one had ever tucked him in and told him good night before. So this was what it was like to be a kitten. He'd never known that kittens led such magical lives. Spiders had to live alone in dark corners, but kittens got to have friends. I will be a kitten, Luigi decided. And the next day, Luigi concentrated on being more kitten-like. He took down his beautiful web, he ate his breakfast from a bowl, and he played with toys, and he snuggled on the sofa. Sometimes he thought about dangling from the ceiling or creeping around in corners, but he resisted. He was a kitten now. He wondered if he could learn to purr. That afternoon, the lady began puttering around in the kitchen. Luigi climbed up the counter to see what she was doing. Every Friday, she told him, my friends come over for game night, and that's tonight. I'm so excited for you to meet them. Luigi did not like the sound of that. If the lady's friends came over, they might tell her that he was really not a kitten, and then she would make him go away. When the first guest rang the doorbell, Luigi fled under the sofa. He watched from the dark as more and more people arrived. After a while, the lady came over and peeked in at him. There's no need to be shy, Luigi. Come out and say hello. Luigi wanted to come out. He wanted to play with game pieces and eat snacks. He wanted to stay with his new friend and do whatever fun thing she was doing. He did not want to hide in the shadows. Maybe, thought Luigi, if I tried very hard, the other people would believe he was a kitten too. He let the lady pick him up and carry him into the dining room. He pretended to have 4 legs instead of 8, and that his hair was soft and bristly, instead of bristly, and that he had 2 triangle ears and a wiggly tail and long, delicate whiskers. He pretended so hard, he almost believed it himself. "Everyone," said the lady, "please say hello to my new friend Luigi." For a moment, it was very quiet. Then someone said, "Hello, Luigi." And then everyone was saying, "Hello." Luigi couldn't believe it. The pretending was working. Luigi played with game pieces, he ate snacks, he nuzzled his head against everything like he imagined a kitten would do. He even tried to meow very softly. Luigi was feeling very kitten-like indeed. He pranced proudly over to the lady who smiled at him. Then one of her friends asked, "What made you decide to adopt a spider, Betty? I thought you always wanted a kitten." Luigi froze, his little spider heart sinking like a stone inside him. It hadn't worked after all. They knew exactly what he was, and now the lady knew too. Luigi leapt from the table and ran from the room and skidded back under the sofa. The lady called after him, but he did not stop. He wriggled as far back as he could and squeezed his eyes shut and hid away in the dark until he fell asleep. He dreamed he was a real kitten. It was such a wonderful kitten that he didn't ever want to wake up. When he finally did open his eyes, the house was quiet. Luigi crept out and looked around. The friends were gone. The games and snacks had been packed away. The lady, Betty, sat alone at the dining room table. "Oh, Luigi," she said, "I'm so sorry. I don't want you to pretend anymore." Yes, Luigi thought sadly. No more pretending. He dropped to the floor and began to slink away. "Luigi, wait," Betty said. "This is all my fault. I already knew you were a spider. I just never said anything because you were having so much fun pretending to be a kitten." Luigi stopped slinking. What did she mean? "I like you for who you really are," she smiled. "Just a little. You're very good at catching cloth bugs on strings, and I bet you want to catch some real bugs, too." It was true. He did miss catching real bugs. And he also liked playing and snuggling and being with Betty. He didn't want to live in the dark forever and ever, not anymore. "Will you stay?" Betty asked. She reached out her hand. Can you be yourself and still be my friend?" Luigi's little spider heart grew suddenly as light and bouncy as a delicious moth. He ran to Betty and hugged her with all 8 of his long, bristly, creepy, crawly spider legs. "I thought I'd always wanted a kitten," she said, hugging him back. "But it turns out what I've always wanted was you." So, be your creepy little spider selves.
About once a month, this congregation has a special offering that we give to sometimes a local or sometimes a national deserving charity. And this is a Share the Plate Sunday. And to tell you about our wonderful recipient, Sandy Hook Promise, is our own Cindy Malley.
I want to thank Bill Dustin for nominating Sandy Hook Promise, our Share the Plate recipient for this morning. I do want to begin with a content warning. I will be talking about school shootings. I won't be graphic, and I trust you to care for yourselves if this is too difficult to hear. Sandy Hook Promise was founded after the murders of 20 first graders and 6 educators in less than 5 minutes in Newtown, Connecticut, right before Christmas in 2012. It is a national organization whose intent is to honor all victims by taking meaningful actions in schools, homes, and communities to prevent gun violence and stop the tragic loss of life. Any cash placed in the collection plate will be given to Sandy Hook Promise. If you are writing a check, please make it payable to Sandy Hook Promise Foundation. If you are joining us online, please go to sandyhookpromise.org and click on the yellow donate button at the top of the page. When those first graders were murdered, Oliver was in kindergarten. Horrified is not a big enough word. We were shocked and angry and frightened and so frustrated at a system that is allowing this to happen over and over and over. According to an article on CNN.com, since that day at Sandy Hook until the article's publication just last month, there have been just under 600 school shootings in the United States since then. That number does not include mass shootings at theaters or arenas or parks or churches. If you're a parent or a grandparent and you send your babies to school, rather than feel helpless, what can you do? First, donate money to organizations like this one that actively protect your children. Sandy Hook Promise can be linked directly to preventing at least 284 incidents involving weapons at schools across the country, including averting 16 school shooting plots. Second, vote for politicians who support common sense gun laws. Third, protest, use your voice, and volunteer with organizations to make change. Fourth, and this is what they're doing in school, teach your children to hide. Teach them to run, and teach them to fight. I don't understand why we've gotten here as a country, but here we are. One last thing. I want to show you something that belongs to Oliver. And I asked his permission to share it with you. This is his high school backpack. He's had it for about 5 years now, and he hates it. It's boring, except that's why he's blinged it all up. It's solid black. It's really heavy. He would much rather I buy him a Hello Kitty backpack from Hot Topic. But Dana and I love this backpack. You see, It has a bulletproof liner sewn into it. The idea is if he ever has to run from an active shooter, he throws it over his back. And if, God forbid, he ever has to run towards a shooter, he wears it on his chest. And in case you're wondering, we did not buy that from a specialty store. We bought it from Staples. It was located under back-to-school supplies. This bulletproof backpack should not exist. But until we live in a society where this is the case, please donate as generously as you can to today's Share the Plate recipient, Sandy Hook Promise. Thank you.
This morning's offering will now be given and received in grateful appreciation. Please join me in the words of our community response. May we be transformed by our giving, and may the world be transformed by our gifts. Many weeks we have a special time that we call the Candles of Caring. This is a time to share those cares, those joys, concerns, and sorrows dearest to you with this gathered beloved community. If you have something that you'd like to share and you're in the sanctuary, please come up to the microphone if you're able and say your name and let us know briefly how we might share our thoughts, prayers, how we might direct our thoughts, prayers, and healing wishes. And you can line up on the sides to make that go a little faster. After that, we will offer a time to bring a microphone to you where you sit if you wish. And then for those of you on Zoom, please raise the hand in the reactions area of Zoom and we'll call on you in turn. So let us begin.
Sure. Thank you.
That's all.
Okay. Then I'd like to ask our worship associates to light the rest of the candles and let those represent the joys, concerns, and sorrows that are with us this morning, but that remain unspoken. Thank you. Please join with me in the spirit of meditation or prayer. Once again, we have come together in love and trust, sharing those cares dearest to us with this beloved gathered community. Let us hold in our thoughts, in our hearts, our prayers, those joys and concerns and sorrows that were spoken aloud this morning, as well as those that remain unspoken, as we share together in a time of sacred silence. Amen, and blessed be. It's a fact. You don't always get what you want. We've all known that heartbreak. You want something so badly. Maybe you even work for it. You work towards something with effort, maybe for days, weeks, even years. Sometimes you even work for something you want badly all your life up to a given moment. But for all that desiring, sometimes for all that effort, it still doesn't pan out. you can't always get what you want. I can give a very trivial example for myself. Some of you know that the two baseball teams I root for are the Boston Red Sox in the American League, of course, and then my childhood team, the Los Angeles Dodgers in the National League. It might surprise you to know that I considered the Red Sox to be my American League team even before I moved to New England in 1993. They were the enemy of my enemy, the Yankees, of course. And that was enough for me when I was a kid. When I was a kid, there were a few Yankees-Dodgers World Series. And with one exception, the Yankees always broke my heart because that's what the Yankees do. And I thought, I wish there could be a Red Sox-Dodgers World Series. Honestly, in part because I thought there's no way the Red Sox would beat the Dodgers. The curse, they're never going to win, right? But that would be so amazing, the Dodgers and the Red Sox, my two favorite teams. I couldn't lose. It was something I rooted for since I was 9 years old. I wanted it so bad. Well, those of you who pay attention to such things know that that dream did finally come true. It just took 40 years. But in 2018, it was the Red Sox and Dodgers facing off in the World Series. And you know what? It was horrible. I hated that World Series. It felt so weird. It was the first time that either of those two teams had been in the World Series, which thankfully for me, they get there a fair amount of the time. The first time that I couldn't root for either one of them with abandon. I couldn't yell at the screen when my team messed up. I couldn't, whoop and holler when my team did something good because the other team was there too. So instead of having the ultimate rooting interest, I effectively had no rooting interest. And I wasn't really even happy the moment the Red Sox did win, as it turns out, in 5 games, because it felt like the best I could do was root for 7 games. I don't even think I cheered when it was over. So sad. I finally got what I always wanted. And it turned out it was the worst. Okay, time for a little change of pace, a show of hands. And so for this, if I could get Oliver's assistants to back off the camera so people watching from home can see the hands. Okay, if you'll play along. So show of hands, question. And I'll play along too. Do you want to win the lottery? Would you like to win the lottery? If so, raise your hand. No. Okay. You can put them down. Pretty good number of you. Okay, second question. How many of you bought a lottery ticket this past week? Not very many. Which doesn't really make sense. I mean, we just said we wanted to win the lottery, most of us, and, the odds of winning, granted, are tiny if you win a ticket, but the odds of winning if you don't buy a ticket are exactly 0. Do you really want to win the lottery? Because most of you aren't really acting like it. Your heart's not in it, I don't think. Do we even know what we want? Because to quote the Joe Jackson song, you can't get what you want till you know what you want. I bet you didn't think that was the song I was going to quote. But maybe Joe Jackson was wrong about that. Maybe you can get what you want before knowing what you want. I asked a few people, acquaintances and friends on social media, about a memorable time when they didn't get something they wanted very badly, and how it turned out for them after that disappointment. One shared that he wanted to avoid marriage and avoid having children. He never wanted to be married or have kids, on the theory that he could be of more service to more people, greater service to humanity, if he stayed a bachelor. Well, an unexpected pregnancy happened. An unexpected falling in love happened, and now he's happily married with kids. And he says, quote, "My kids inspire me and they'll do more good than I could have." And then I heard from lots of folks who were devastated when a romantic relationship ended, something they wanted to last maybe even forever, and it didn't. But they felt like in retrospect, it was really a good thing that that relationship ended because they wound up ultimately probably in a better place, either with a partner who was probably better for them or definitely better for them in some cases, or in other cases learning that they actually prefer to go through life single. And then I heard from the folks who wanted to be in a particular job, a particular field, and so on, but that didn't pan out. They couldn't get into the right school, or they had the job for a little while and they got fired, or they just couldn't get hired in the field. But then again, eventually, they found another job or field and realized maybe they liked that field better. In some cases, they even felt like the field they wound up in was a calling for them, or maybe just that that field they wound up in had more opportunity. Those failed romances and failed career quests were really the stories I heard the most. So sometimes, not always, but sometimes it seems we get what we want before we figure out what that is. So I do ask you, do you know what you want? Do we know what we want, what we really, really want? To quote the Spice Girls. See? Another song. Okay, it's true. In the moment, probably a lot of us think we do know what we want, right? What we want as of today. I know what I want to happen in the upcoming election. I know that I want the Dodgers to beat the Mets tonight. I know that I want whichever team wins the National League pennant to beat the Yankees. And you have your own list of things that you want right now, today, if I asked you to name them. But here's the thing. We know maybe what we want in this moment, but we see through a glass darkly, to quote 1 Corinthians from the Christian New Testament. It also reminds me of a Taoist story. It's one sometimes shared in Zen Buddhist circles. I shared it with you once before. The story is about an old Chinese farmer. And one day, the old Chinese farmer's horse runs away. And his neighbors hear the news, and they come to visit him, and they say, "Oh, we heard about your horse running away. We're so sorry. That's such bad luck." And the old farmer says, "We'll see." And then the next week, the farmer's horse returned, and it brought with it 3 wild horses. And the neighbors heard about this, and they came to the old farmer, and "We heard your horse came back, and now you have more horses than before. That's so great. That's such good luck." And the farmer said, "We'll see." And then the following week, the farmer's teenage son tried to ride one of those 3 wild, untamed horses, and he was thrown, and he broke his leg badly. And the neighbors came to check on the old farmer, and they said, "We heard about your son's leg breaking. We're so sorry. That's awful. What bad luck." And the farmer said, "We'll see." And then the next week, some military officials came to the village to draft young men to fight in the wars. And knowing the farmer's son would be just the right age for military conscription, they came to visit, but they found that his leg was badly broken, so he didn't get drafted. And the neighbors heard, and they went to congratulate the farmer. "Oh, this is so great. Your son doesn't have to fight in the wars. What great luck. We're so happy for you." And the farmer said, "We'll see." We'll see. I don't want to ruin this tale by explaining the magic away, but it's true. We'll see. You just never know how something is going to turn out. You never know when a seemingly good thing is going to lead to something bad, or when a seemingly bad thing or bad change will lead to something good. We do see through a glass darkly. Speaking of glass, it reminds me of something from Through the Looking Glass, a companion to Alice in Wonderland, both written by Lewis Carroll. And I want to share Just a little excerpt of a conversation between Alice and the White Queen. Alice is helping the Queen get dressed. It would have been all the better, as it seemed to Alice, if the Queen had got someone else to dress her. She was so dreadfully untidy. Every single thing's crooked, Alice thought to herself, and she's all over pins. And dear me, Alice said, what a state your hair is in. The brush has got entangled in it, the Queen said with a sigh. And I lost the comb yesterday. Alice carefully released the brush and did her best to get the Queen's hair into order. Come, you look rather better now, she said, after altering most of the pins. But really, you should have a lady's maid. I'm sure I'll take you with pleasure, the Queen said. 2 pence a week and jam every other day. Alice couldn't help laughing. She said, I don't want you to hire me, and I don't care for jam. It's very good jam, said the Queen. Well, I don't want any today, at any rate, said Alice. You couldn't have it if you did want, said the Queen. The rule is jam tomorrow and jam yesterday, but never jam today. It must come sometimes jam today, Alice objected. No, it can't, said the Queen. It's jam every other day, and this isn't any other day, you know. I don't understand you, said Alice. It's dreadfully confusing. That's the effect of living backwards, the Queen said kindly. It always makes one a little giddy at first. Living backwards, Alice repeated in great astonishment. I never heard of such a thing. The Queen went on. But there's one great advantage in it, and that's that one's memory works in both ways. I'm sure my memory only works one way, Alice remarked. I can't remember things before they happen. It's a poor sort of memory that only works backwards, the Queen remarked. Well, I hope that was worth it. Indeed, though that is it. That's the rub, isn't it? Our memories only work one way, backwards. We can't remember things before they happen, and the Queen is right. It's a poor, or at least a very limited sort of memory that only works backwards. We're not always accurate in knowing what we want because our memory only sees things in retrospect. We see through that glass darkly. Is what we think we want going to be good for us? We'll see. One thing I do know is that it took everything going exactly the way it did for you to be the person you are today, for you to be here at all. It took everything going exactly the way it did for you to be with us right here today in this sanctuary or with us online. And I know most of you, and I like you exactly the way you are. And I definitely like it that you're all here today, in person or with us online. And I hope you like yourselves too. I hope you do. You're unique. You're a miracle. You are truly one of a kind. There is no one else like you. You contain multitudes, to quote Walt Whitman. You are a universe unto yourself. So I'm indeed sorry for any disappointments you faced, losses, struggles, even suffering. And I won't say that it made you better or stronger, because how could I know that? I just know who you are right now, and I like you very much. And I really am so happy that our paths have crossed. As Max Ehrmann put it in our call to worship, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. And whatever your labors and aspirations and the noisy confusion of life, keep peace. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world, he writes. So never stop dreaming. It's part of what makes you so beautiful. Never stop working for your dreams. Dreams do sometimes come true, and oftentimes it works out the way you hoped. But whatever the case, fight the good fight. It is part of what makes this world so compelling and so exquisite. It's part of what makes you so compelling and exquisite. Always work to help heal the world, siding with love. Your memory works backwards, but your action works forwards. But come what may, enjoy every moment you can of this imperfect but beautiful world that is certainly all the more beautiful with you in it. Blessed be, and amen. Our closing hymn is number 19 in the gray hymnal, The Sun That Shines, and I invite you to rise in body or spirit. For our closing words, you have already, I see, held hands, if you're comfortable with it, but you can do anything you like, touch feet, shoulders, elbows, or hold your hands up and feel the energy between us and those who are with us online. It is an imperfect but beautiful world, and you are imperfect and beautiful too. We don't always know what we want, but we do know that we can never stop striving to heal the world. We can never stop working to bring more love. And together, may we find that though we don't always get what we want, maybe we'll find we can get what we need. There, I finally said it. Please be seated.